Do you really think the Mariners offered Shohei Ohtani a one-year contract for $65 million just to hit?
I'm not listening to you. You're crazy.
After they've already not extended a qualifying offer to Teoscar Hernandez, traded away Eugenio Suarez to dump off his contract, traded Jared Kelenic to the Braves so that they would take on Marco Gonzalez and Evan White's contracts, after which Seattle Times reporters Adam Jude and Ryan Divish are stating that the team has about $20 million for 2024 to spend on players. Do you really think they offered Shohei Ohtani a one-year, $65 million contract that would only take up one spot in the lineup? There would be an additional 2 to 3 holes after that. And if you added Ohtani's $65 million to the $110 that they're currently projected at with payroll, this would take him to $175 million for 2024, 25% higher than 2023. And that's just by adding one player. That is the biggest clickbait headline I have seen. I understand it's deeper than just the salaries on why you didn't extend Teo and why you traded Gino and Jared. It's more so a retooling of the Mariners lineup from a more power-heavy and strikeout-heavy lineup to more consistency throughout. Jerry Dipoto has talked about wanting to go out and add a few bats, specifically for contact and more consistency. But we're going to get into today the Mariners' plans for spending this offseason as told by a few Seattle Times articles, as well as looking at realistically their window of contention over these next few years. How much time do they actually have to really push with this core of players and win a World Series? Before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all things Mariners and baseball. And if you're following the Mariners this offseason, you're probably thinking, what is going on? Well, if you're thinking of buying or selling a home in the next 6 to 12 months, you're probably also thinking, what is going on? You're seeing headlines of interest rates going up and down, home values going up and down. Myself, during the day, am a mortgage loan originator, so I can help guide you through the process from step A to Z, from getting pre-approved to moving into your home. So if yourself or someone you know is looking to buy or sell in the next 6 to 12 months, reach out to myself, the Couch GM, Connor Webb, and I'd be able to help you along the way. And I guarantee if you work with me, we'll talk sports at least 54% of the time. So with that, we're starting with this article by Ryan Divish, which came out on Tuesday, which was during the middle of the winter meetings. But as it says, the headline is, Mariners did what they needed to do by shedding payroll, says Jerry Dipoto. The article states that Jerry Dipoto has been trying to develop a plan to build a roster for the 2024 season despite having a smaller than expected budget. It says to generate payroll flexibility and the ability to add players to the roster, he had to engineer 2 trades that removed third baseman Eugenio Suarez, outfielder Jared Kelenic, pitcher Marco Gonzalez, and infielder Evan White. And along with them, that was about $30 million that they would be owed in money this season. And in return, they got 3 players making the MLB minimum salaries and a prospect on a minor league contract. As a whole this offseason, including the cash considerations sent to the Braves as part of that Jared Kelenic trade, along with the acquisition of Luis Arias, the Mariners have freed up roughly $20 million of extra money to spend on players. On if there would be more salary shedding coming this offseason, Dipoto stated, "We did what we needed to do to create the framework from which to build the team we envisioned. Our goal is to go get better." Divish goes on to say that while Dipoto can't or won't speak to why the team's ownership gave him a smaller budget than anticipated when the season ended, the reasons stem from uncertainties surrounding their regional sports network, Root Sports Northwest. Xfinity this fall announced that it was moving Root to its highest tier channel package, resulting in about $20 a month additional that customers would have to pay in order to watch Mariners games. It was about $18.50 a month extra. It's pretty common for baseball teams, at least at some level, to rely on the regional sports networks in order to help fund their payroll. But in this case, the Mariners own Root Sports, the network. When asked about the uncertainty with Root and his payroll budget, Dipoto stated, "I'm just going to focus on the baseball part of it. We're here to try to build the best 26-man roster we can build in the short and long. And I'm not going to ever talk about our budget." But both Dipoto and the Mariners manager Scott Service have alluded to the fact that the ownership group has not allowed the front office to go out and spend as much as they thought that they were going to be able to. Dipoto went on to say, "I would have told you I'd be surprised 12 months ago to stand here now and have gone through some of the alterations we made in just this year. I'm really disappointed that we didn't make it to the postseason, disappointed this step in our growth wasn't as effective as maybe we all envisioned it would be. I still think we have a really good team and a chance to be a great team." And Dipoto said that after he congratulated the Rangers general manager Chris Young at the GM meetings in November, Chris Young said to Dipoto, "You guys had a great season too, and it could have been you at the end." Jerry went on to state, "I don't know if we would be in a different situation right now Were we to have made the postseason, because we always think broadly and we're constantly trying to balance the present and the future, and we'll always think that way. He went on to say, we would like to add, I would call it 1.5 corner outfielders, with the half being of someone at least capable of platooning, with the idea that Dom Canzone could fill in on the other side of it, or Cade Marlowe or Taylor Trammell. And then we would like to find someone who is just a presence, more of a middle of the lineup type. And if that means a primary DH, if it means some part of a corner position and DH, that's a possibility, but we'd like to add bats that can make our offense better. Compare that with an article that Adam Jude released yesterday, stating the Mariners continue offensive overhaul, hire 2 new hitting coaches. He goes on to state that the Mariners shattered the franchise record for strikeouts in 2023 with 1,603 strikeouts. Their strikeout rate of 25.9% ranked second in MLB behind only the Minnesota Twins. On Thursday, they announced the hiring of 2 new offensive coaches, Brant Brown and Tommy Joseph. The Mariners also created a new role, the offensive coordinator, for Brant Brown, who will also serve as the bench coach to manager Scott Servais. But the important part of this article is that down at the bottom, Jude goes through the moves that the Mariners have made so far this offseason, talking about some payroll they've dumped, and he states that the club now has roughly $20 million to spend to find suitable replacements for the 2024 lineup. Dipoto said, there are certain parts about our offense that are very good. There are other parts that we feel like created a weird distribution of runs. We'd like to more evenly distribute our run scoring, and I think that probably happens with more contact. Jude went on to state that with their payroll limitations and with only so many hitters available, Dipoto acknowledged it could be a challenge to complete the specific offensive overhaul in one offseason. Dipoto says, if we can achieve that in the market, that would be priority number 1. But those players are hard to find, and they're even harder to acquire. So based on these comments, this overhaul, adding to the lineup, to the full potential of the lineup, isn't just going to happen this offseason. It might take longer than 1 year. Add on to that the fact that the Mariners now have around $20 million to spend to find suitable replacements for the 2024 lineup to replace Jared Kelenic, Eugenio Suarez, Teoscar Hernandez. That's not looking good. And that's certainly not $65 million for one player. And that also makes you think which free agents might be within their actual budget. Well, if you go to spottrack.com, you can look at the free agents available, and this gives you a rough estimate of what their market value currently is. So starting at the top of the payroll, of course, Shohei Ohtani doesn't show a number for him, but for Cody Bellinger, he's one of the bats. He's the top bat available. It shows a market value of $22.5 million a year. Just for kicks and giggles, we're going to say the Mariners are capped at $20 million, so Cody Bellinger is out of it. Realistically, the first person available is Hunter Renfroe at $18.2 million, and Matt Chapman at 17. There's Teoscar Hernandez, Jock Peterson, JD Martinez is $15.4 million. One of the guys I've been looking at is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. So let's say they go out and get Lourdes Gurriel Jr., a right-hitting outfielder. He's 30 years old. Market value of $14.6 million. That would leave them with about $5.4 million left over. So if you scroll up the $5.4 million range, you're looking at also maybe adding like a Tim Anderson piece. The options get pretty slim beyond that point, and not really anyone that I would want to go get. Would have been nice to have a reunion with Tom Murphy, but with the backup catcher coming from that trade with the Diamondbacks, that seems that's not going to be the case. So maybe the Mariners will sign one free agent bat this offseason. Maybe they won't. Maybe it'll all come from trades, or they get one free agent bat and then they get another bat via the trade market. But a wild stat is that the Mariners have not given any position player a multi-year deal since Dipoto was hired by the Mariners in 2015, and AJ Pollock's 1 year, $7 million last year is the largest guarantee given out to a hitter under Dipoto's watch. So basically all of the bats have come via the trade market, or of course via drafting and developing. And this makes you think that with the Mariners' core of players that they have, what is their true window of contention that they have to go out and really try to win a World Series right now? I would argue it's 2 to 3 years max. Now it's worth asking the question, which Mariners players are the core of their team? And the Mariners core players in this one, I'm going to say are Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, JP Crawford. I'll say Ty France in this one. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, and before the trade, Jarred Kelenic. But let's take a look at these contracts and see how long this core of the team will remain in Seattle. Of course, you got to start with Julio Rodriguez. Now, as we all know, he signed that extension last offseason. The base of it is a 12-year, $209 million contract. That's the guaranteed amount. But realistically, Julio is going to be locked down for about 15 years, depending on how many MVP votes he receives between now and 2028, as well as how many Silver Sluggers and All-Star selections. Julio is not going anywhere. Luis Castillo, he is signed for 5 years, $108 million. There is a option in 2028 in which it is a vesting option depending on if he pitches a certain amount of innings in 2027. Luis Castillo under contract for about 5 years. He's not going anywhere. Robbie Ray is under contract through the 2026 season, but there is a player opt-out after 2024. He could opt out of his contract if he wants to, but with his injury status, he is not going to be opting out of this contract. He's not going to get better on the free agent market than what he's receiving right now. So Robbie Ray, realistically, you have 3 years of control with him. So far you've got 4 years at least left with Luis Castillo. You've got 3 years with Robbie Ray. You've got basically 15 years with Julio Rodriguez. Another core member of the Mariners lineup right now is JP Crawford at shortstop. He is currently signed through the 2026 season. He's got 3 years left until you're needing to find another shortstop. So far, those 4 contracts, you have them all together for at least 3 years. Another key player on this team has been Ty France over the past few years. He currently is arbitration eligible through the 2025 season. This year, he's estimated to be paid around $8 million. That number will go up in 2025, assuming that Ty France has a decent year, and he can become a free agent in 2026. Likely, he's going to get too expensive for the Mariners to re-sign him. So that's 2 years with Ty France, or 2 years with your first base, maybe a DH hitter. Logan Gilbert is in his first year of arbitration. He's estimated to be paid around $5 million this year. He's going to get very pricey, escalating each year. He's one of the top pitchers in the league already, so his salary is going to continue to go up to a point to where the Mariners might look at trading him as more of a value. Now, with that being said, you technically have control of Logan Gilbert for 4 years. Another big core member is George Kirby in the rotation. He is essentially a year behind Logan Gilbert. If there's going to be a guy that the Mariners look to extend, it's going to be George Kirby. But after looking at some of the tweets that George Kirby has liked recently, he's subtly hinting that he's not happy with the Mariners ownership, and I really hope that he would accept an extension. But at the same time, the ownership is proving that they're not going to do what it takes to be able to go out and win, be in the playoffs every year, really fight for a World Series. George Kirby grew up in New York as a Yankees fan. What do they do on a perennial basis? But George Kirby, he's in pre-arbitration right now. He is arbitration eligible up through 2028. So technically, you got 5 years left with George Kirby. Those other younger pitchers in Bryce Miller and Bryan Woo obviously are going to have more control than George Kirby. They're going to have another 1 to 2 years than him, so we don't need to worry too much about them. Now, as far as Raleigh is concerned, he is pre-arbitration eligible, so he also has 4 years of control currently. And with him, the same as Gilbert, he's going to get quite expensive. He's already been one of the top hitting catchers in the game, solid defense, but he's under contract for 4 seasons. So really your core guys, if you're going to keep them all together, Ty France becomes a free agent in 2 years, JP Crawford in 3 years, multiple other players in 4 years. The Mariners realistically with their core of players have a 3-year window to where they need to go out and win a World Series. Otherwise, they're going to have to start dismantling it because guys are going to start getting too expensive in arbitration. They're going to start hitting free agency. They're not going to sign extensions if you're not going to put money towards going and winning. The Mariners have a 2-year window if they want to win with Ty France. They have a 3-year window if they want to win with JP Crawford. And then beyond that, you're starting to lose off Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo, various other guys. Logan Gilbert's got 4 years. Then it starts to really go downhill from there. So this part isn't really to like scare anyone or to amp anyone up. I'm just showing you the fact of the matter that the Mariners really have a 2 to 3 year window. They got to go for it all right now. We will see what happens with the Mariners the rest of this offseason. If you see any headlines breaking that the Mariners acquired anyone, make sure to jump on my live stream on YouTube. I'll be going through the details live as soon as I see a tweet come through. That was a lot of fun last time when Jarred Kelenic was traded. Well, that part wasn't fun, but it was fun to be able to interact and react live to that. But anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.